Hello to everyone. This is Muruga Ganesh, Assistant Professor, Department of Management Studies, K.S.Rangasamy College of Technology. Today we are going to discuss some topics on commercial bank management. So first we will discuss about the topic types of banks in India. There are five major types of banks in India, namely commercial banks, cooperative banks, specialized banks, payment banks, and small finance banks. In commercial banks, there are four subcategories. That is public sector banks, private sector banks, regional rural banks, foreign banks. In cooperative banks, there are two types. That is rural cooperative banks and urban cooperative banks. Let us discuss one by one on different banks in India. The first one is commercial banks in India. The commercial banks means functioning solely to generate profit by accepting deposits and giving out loans. This is the major activity of commercial banks. So commercial banks are running for generating profit. So this is what the commercial bank. So commercial bank, it may be a private sector or public sector bank, but it running for the purpose of earning the or generating the profit. That is the main purpose of the commercial bank. That is why it is called as a commercial banks. So commercial banks are regulated by the Banking Regulation Act of 1947. Their primary function involves collecting deposits and offering loans. This is the basic function of a commercial bank. Whether it may be a public sector or a private sector or a foreign bank or whatever it may be, if it is a commercial bank, the major function it involves collecting deposits and offering loans to various entities like individual, corporations and governments. This is the major functions of a commercial bank. Commercial bank can be owned by government or by a private entities and are grouped into four categories. Let us discuss one by one about the four categories of commercial bank. The first one is public sector bank. These are the banks in which government of India owns the majority of the stock, means more than 51% of the stocks are held by the government of India. That is called, it is a public sector bank. Public sector bank in India function under the government to establish trust in the banking customers that are money, but that their money is safe. The customer who are approaching the bank for different activities like depositing money or lending loan, they before that they need to trust. They need to trust a bank. That is the main function under the government to establish trust in the bank customer through the public sector bank. That the public should trust that their money is safe. That is the major or primary function of government banks, public sector banks in India. The government issues financial guidelines for public sector banks in India. Public sector banks charges less for their services than private sector banks in India. These banks also introduce various financial schemes for public benefit. Public sector banks competing with the private sector bank by offering so many services in lending the loan or offering the different schemes and deposits, and they are also competing with the private sector bank by offering the less service charges, more interest on par with the private banks. In terms of financial volume, SBI, that is State Bank of India, is one of the largest public sector bank in India. It is merged with the five associate banks secure its place in the top 50 banks in the world. These associate banks includes State Bank of Jaipur, State Bank of Bakaner, State Bank of Mysore, State Bank of Trivandrum and State Bank of Hyderabad. These five banks are merged with the State Bank of India. So it is become the top 50 banks in the world. So this is the major points about the State Bank of India. So State Bank of India is the primary and leading bank in the public sector bank in India. So next one is private sector banks. In these banks, a private entity, an individual or a group of people own the majority of stock, that is called private sector bank. A individual, a private entity or a group of people are having the or holding the more than 51 percentage of the share of the particular bank is called as private sector bank. The RBI lays the guidelines or rules for the private sector banks, which are the same for all banks in India. So this RBI is framing the guidelines and guiding rules for private sector and public sector bank and foreign banks and all the banks in India. So these guiding rules is common for all the banks. Private sector banks in which private shareholders hold the major stakes or equity. All the banking rules and regulations laid down by the RBI will be applicable to private sector bank as well. So there is no differences between the public sector bank and the private sector bank in terms of rules and regulations laid down by the RBI. So next one is regional rural banks and foreign banks in commercial banks. So let us discuss what is regional rural banks. Means these are unique commercial banks that lend at reduced rate for agricultural purposes in rural areas to boost the rural economy. So this is the purpose of regional rural bank. Means they will give the or lend the loan for the purpose of agriculture to promote the agricultural industry in the rural area. This is the basic purpose of regional rural bank. And foreign banks means these are banks that are headquartered in overseas with branches in India. So there are so many foreign banks are available in India. Their branches are available in India. So their headquarters may be overseas in different countries like Korea, United States, or United Kingdom, but their branches they have in major cities to operate the businesses. So some example of foreign banks and its branches in India is DBS Bank India Limited, SBM Bank Limited, Bank of Nova Scotia, HSBC. These are all the some foreign banks branches in India. So next, cooperative banks. Cooperative banks are the set up to enhance social welfare by providing short-term, low-interest loans to agriculture and related industries. So normally cooperative banks are started by the local community and the local community people become the customer of that particular cooperative bank so that they can use such facilities for the development of the agriculture and the related industries to for the development. Cooperative banks are financial entities established on a cooperative basis and belong to their members. So one basic examples of cooperative society, cooperative banks are the one example which is available in all small cities of a town in every part of the India. This means that the customers of a cooperative bank also its owners. So they contribute small amount to start a business and they make use of that particular bank for promoting their small businesses or agriculture or whatever it may be. So that is the major purpose of cooperative bank. So next one is types of cooperative bank. There are two types of cooperative bank. The first one is rural cooperative bank. These mainly finance agricultural based activities including farming, dairy and fish culture along with the small scale industries and self-employment activities. So these are the main purpose of rural cooperative banks. They lend the loan for the dairy, promoting the dairy business, farming business, fish culture, along with the small scale industry. This is the major purpose of these rural cooperative banks. And urban cooperative banks, these banks finance people for self-employment, industries, small scale units and home finances. So these banks normally located in urban area to promote the small scale industries and promote the housing facilities in the urban area. So next one is specialized banks. These banks are promoted between 1982 to 1990 to develop certain facilities in India. So that the certain facility means to promote agriculture, foreign trade, housing, and small scale industries. So in developing these areas, the government of India has promoted these banks in the year between 1982 to 1990. So let us discuss about some of the example or some of the banks which are being promoted for the purpose of promoting agriculture and import and export and different reasons. So first one is NABARD. NABARD, the expansion of NABARD is National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development 1982 to support agricultural activities. Next bank, another bank is Exim Bank, that is Export Import Bank of India. It is being established in the year 1982 to promote the export and import in India. So next one is National Housing Bank is promoted in the year 1988 to finance housing project and increase the housing facilities in developing the housing projects in India. The final one is SIDBI, Small Industries Development Bank of India, is developed in the year 1990 to fund small scale industries. So these are only some examples of specialized banks in India. So next one is payment banks. Payment banks are a new kind of bank conceptualized by RBI in 2014 to operate on a small scale with minimal credit risk. Means the main objective was to advance offering banking and financial services to the unbanked and underbanked segment. So people, those who are not able to approach the bank frequently, can avail such kind of payment bank services. So some example is Paytm, Airtel Banking, and India Post are the some examples of payment banks. So the convenience of making online payment through mobile apps marked the evaluation of e-banking in India. So the people can open both current and savings account, issues ATM and debit card, and offer net banking and mobile banking through the payment banks. So these are all the facilities are available in payment banks. So people can accept deposit only up to 1 lakh per customer and can't issue loan or credit cards through the payment bank. So such facilities cannot availed by, but the fund transfer is possible until 1 lakh per day. So that is possible. The next one is small finance bank. The small finance banks were generated approval by the RBI in 2016 to extend financial inclusions to people who are not served by regular banks. People may not able to served by the regular banks or another major banks, so that the small finance banks can serve such category of people to provide savings facilities and credit to small businesses, small and marginal farmers, and micro and small industries through modern technology at low cost operations. So this is the major purpose of small finance bank which are being introduced by the Reserve Bank of India. So I hope that all of you may understand the types of bank in India. So thank you for your listening. Thank you.